Welcome to a moment with Vivacious, a freedom ride where we the people gather to build ourselves, our family, our community, and our nation. For the sound of America for Progress has reached critical mass. Understanding that we must put aside our differences to focus on the greater good. This is a place of collaboration to rebuild and restore our nation. Welcome to a moment with Vivacious. Hello, and good evening. It's going to be exciting Wednesday nights, building and changing our lives. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. Please like, share. Thank you for being here. Tonight we're going to talk about really almost the foundation of life, and that's motherhood. And I want to talk a little bit about my experience as motherhood because it was the greatest and still is the greatest task that the Lord has put before me. And I'm sure like we all do. You know, I was talking to a mother during the weekend. She said, but I made so many mistakes. I wish I could do it again. I want to tell you, I made so many mistakes, but it wasn't easy being a mother, and I don't want to do it again. I'll watch my daughter do it and watch my nieces do it, and I'll be Nanny Val and Nana to all those. And if I can give any advice, I would. But my greatest advice is to always pray. Um, all my life, of course, those who know me know, and I'm not trying to be the dead horse, but my mom died when I was younger. And I had some difficult stages in my life, personal and just life in itself. You know, living without a mom, um, I didn't know how difficult it really was until I had my own daughter. But I never wanted any kids. I never wanted any kids because I didn't want to have a baby and die and leave them to that life. And I think after talking to my sisters and when we were grown, we all felt that same way. We had that same fear that when we reached mama's age, we would die and leave our children. And God, what would we do? Then I got married and got pregnant. And I told my sister, hello everyone who's joining. I told my sister that I was going to give her this baby. I talked to my husband about it. You know, we could visit the baby anytime we wanted to, but raising a baby for me was going to be too much. And I meant it. And my sister was prepared. And then I had that baby. And when I had that little baby and held her in my arms, I knew one thing, that I never wanted to be without her again. And you know, I was divorced when she was young, so I was a single parent. But let me take that back because I wasn't. And I want to first give her grandmother all the kudos in the world because I really never had to settle down. I had her grandmother there with me to help me with that little baby. But because I didn't have a mother, it was very difficult for her to come into my life to help me with her grandchild because everything was she was overbearing to me. And she didn't understand that until Kristen got older. She was overbearing to me. She's always here. What she want? What she got? You know, unfortunately. But I thank God that she didn't give up because she loved her grandchild. You know, so I don't want to stay too long on this story because I want to bring up the most precious part of my life, the most valuable part of my life in just a minute. But and growing up, I made mistakes. You know, I was in the church, and I just wanted everything for me, and because she was for me, and without realizing it until she was older, I loved her so much. I held her to me. She became my for me. Without realizing it again, she became my like I owned her. Like this is all I have in the world. I own this. I had to have it good. I had to do it good. I wanted to protect her from life. I had to keep her protected from life. And that's how I lived with her. I protected her. But I was very hard on her because I didn't want her to have um I didn't want her to go through the things that I went through in life. That I felt like if I had had a mom, my mom would not have allowed me to go through some of the things that I went through. So all of her life, and sometimes I still have to catch myself uh, with that thing that same thing right now of I want to protect you. I have to protect you from the world. You know, you're perfect. Everybody who knows me knows that. I think my boss told me that today. That my charge nurse. She said, "That's because you want everything perfect. That's why. That's why you have to see everything perfect." And I don't know how I got that way, but I saw my baby as perfect, and I'm in such an unperfect world that I owned her. I wanted her. I groomed her. Even for tonight, I said, you know, she does her own media thing, and I said, "Oh, but I want you to wear. I want you to, and I want you to." You know, because I felt like I was presenting her to the world. And it wasn't until tonight I said, come and be yourself. But in the midst of all of that and all the mistakes, and we even went through a very hard time in our relationship. And if she wants, it almost killed me, but I didn't die. And if she wants to talk about that, we can. But in motherhood, I think for me, it was I'm producing a whole nother part of the world that a whole nother person that's going to be a great part of making the world great. And perfection for me spilled over. It was when she got older and I realized that if I'm going to her house, this is her house and I have to follow her rule. But I didn't want my grandkids with all those rules. Y'all grandmothers know that one, right? So if I'm there and I'm at her home and I just want to spoil my grandbabies, we just go rent us a hotel. But tonight, I want to introduce to the world as we start this conversation the best part of me, Nola Reeds. Come on up, Nola.
Hey
Good evening, good
everybody. Hey to my
evening.
good sis Barb. Hey to my Kimmy Nicole. How are you? How are you, Miss Barbara Dozier? How are you? So you guys in the comments just wanted to say hi. How's everybody doing tonight?
So, Chris, I'm sorry, so Nola.
It's okay.
So, Nola.
You don't call me that, so it's okay.
uh, I call you that when I'm around those friends. But Nola, so I'm on the hot seat tonight. We're talking about motherhood. I want you to tell our guests what you think of motherhood and how was I as a mother. And be honest, I can take it.
For me, motherhood is fun. It's like having little broke besties. For me and my kids. Like we talk a lot, we laugh, we joke, we have our moments. Uh, they harass me, I harass them. They harass me, I harass them. Seeing them grow, seeing them my girls in high school, seeing them navigate situations with their friends, and they're like, "Nah, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do this." Like they get it. So I'm at the point now where I'm starting to see all of the lessons that I was teaching, like they getting it. So it's bittersweet because they getting older. My oldest is a sophomore, And so I'm looking at 2 more years, and if she want to go to college away, I'm like, I got 2 more years to get ready for that. I'm gonna be sad to see her go, probably gonna cry, but I cry for like every monumental thing, every first day of school. So that's not unusual. But I'm preparing her for that. Like, I don't want to stop her for that. For me, I would actually prefer them to go away. That's very different from you. Very different.
Absolutely.
But I think for me and what I experienced in becoming an adult, um, them going away to college will be the first chance that they can experience being an adult, truly learning how to budget your money. You're on your own, but without the responsibilities of having to worry about that monthly rent, that monthly lights, that part will be taken care of. So I think that's a good step. Um, you as a mother, we had good times. We had rough times. Um, I thought you were very strict, very, very harsh, especially when you were in the church. Like at one point, we was watching Polly on repeat because everything, everything was like, you can't watch that. That's of the devil. So it wasn't until I went like to other people's house that I got to see other things and like listen to the music on the radio and dance. But that created memories with my cousins, for me, which we are like sisters. And I talked to my aunts on the phone. So I would say all around, I had not just with you, but with my aunts and on both sides of my family and my grandmother, I love her dearly. I had good examples and representation of not only motherhood, but family. And so even though I live away, like my kids look forward to going home to family for holidays and for the food of Mackenzie's like every Thanksgiving she wants some of Auntie Siggy's sweet potatoes, with the yams on it. Like she gotta have it. So hey, ranting, my love. So for me, I think the best part about the experience was taking that lesson of creating family and knowing the importance of family and creating those memories. I definitely cherish and definitely pass down to my kids. Like we knew our culture. That's one thing I can say. We knew our culture. There's nothing anybody can say to me about New Orleans that will not make any sense. That was taught to me. We were taught the importance of politics. We were taught the importance of being a lady. We were taught the importance of a lot of things that I think is lacking from some people in my generation as parents because they don't want to do everything that their parents did. So they want to completely do everything different. And I think there's good to take. And I think there's some parts we should definitely leave behind.
Well, for me, I want to talk a little bit about uh, my experience. I thought of everything that I was missing. I was missing how to the feminine side of being a lady because my daddy was out the box. He just
Don't do
I
my
mean
Gramsci. Don't talk about my
my
Gramsci. I'll never
yeah,
forget that day we was on I-10 and you say somebody needs to get their daddy driving this oldest slow in the fast lane. And it was your dad in that little Ford Escort.
oh my God,
Don't talk about
daddy,
my
daddy was
Gramsci. May he
driving.
rest in
Look,
peace.
daddy would say, "Daddy, you driving in the other lane. That's those people problem." But for me, I wanted to give everything that I missed. I wanted God is still a very important part of my life, but I thank God that He has brought some balance to my life. But I missed and I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. I missed the part of how to be a lady and how to be a woman and how to love because dad just went through every day, you know. We ate, dad paid for our education. I had private education. We ate and we had a place to stay, and that was it. realizing after I got older, I was left to figure out so much on my own that I didn't have the wisdom that it took to be a lady. My life was so imbalanced till until I was very cultured and social in one way, and very just out of it another way. And then in my life, so many, not let me so many, not like everybody, that don't sound good, but a lot of people, and it came across that at different times, people who were supposed to love me didn't show love. So it wasn't until we went through the crisis that we went through in your life, I realized that it wasn't so important. It wasn't more important for me to teach you and make you right and make you straight and make you perfect, but it was more important for me to love you. And I think that as moms, um, as women today, um, that y'all have that your generation has lost some of its femininity. So I think and get me wrong, tell me off, tell me if you feel differently, say something. Um, so it's hard to bring that nurture. I told a young lady one day in conversation, children need mothers and fathers, and they need mothers to nurture them. Well, why can't the daddy nurture them? And I said, I'm not, to myself at that time, I'm not going to get into that argument. I'm not going to get into that discussion because, but for me, a man is not a nurturer like a woman is a nurturer. A man is not a nurturer like a woman is a nurturer. So, children that's missing moms that are nurturing or that don't have that large sense of nurturing. And a lot of times these days, we have to be such a part of providing for the home. We don't have the time to provide, to nurture. And the way society is today, there is the children, when we were coming up, it was a certain age. When you got to be this age, you wore stockings. When you got to be this age, you got to wear high heel shoes. And just certain things like that. And I think a lot of that is missing. I think a lot of taking children through the stages of life is gone. And then I had my nanny with you. My nanny was a very intricate part in my life, and that's my aunt, my daddy's sister. She was also my godmother. In our culture, we call our godmother's nanny, and um, so I had my nanny there, and my nanny, because she helped Daddy raise our children was her children also. So she set stages in our life. This is when they wear high top shoes. This is when you could get them patent leather shoes. This is when they wear this kind of dresses. This is as they grew older. And I think that this generation is missing a lot of the growth and development. How do you feel about that, Nola? And how do you
I mean,
feel
I'm
like,
not going.
because I can't judge myself as a mom. Nobody can judge me as a mom more than you. So you can use me for an example.
I mean, I really didn't. You worked a lot and you traveled a lot, so I spent a lot of time with my grandmother and TT. And my grandmother, you know the situation with my grandmother, my grandfather. You had to look a certain way, you had to be a certain way because he is who he is, right? So
Yes.
I mean, I pretty much I pretty much got the clothes that I wanted between either my grandmother or TT. So that wasn't really a thing. And I mean, I had the patent leather shoes, I had the stockings, and them god awful ruffle dresses. I
Oh,
hated.
they
And
were
that's one thing
beautiful.
when I had girls, like they only wore ruffle dresses when you bought them. I bought them dresses, but I wasn't putting those ruffle dresses on them. But they did have like the opaque tights in the wintertime. Um, and the ruffle socks. Like they had that. That was okay. Like we used to wear ruffle socks with our mini skirts. Like at one point in New Orleans, that was a thing. And you stack your colors to match your outfit. But that's not the here nor there. So I think it all depends. Like that's what I wore, but then I also had a friend who mama would buy her halter tops and Daisy Dukes, and she dressed her kids today like um some Amish kids. Like everything is long and flowy and fitty. So I think the people dress their kids according to how they feel and what they think is cute. I don't necessarily think that one way or the other that's missing, because I also grew up with girls who didn't wear ruffle dresses, who didn't wear stockings and socks. So they don't put stockings and socks on their kids. I hated stockings. You won't catch me in a pair of stockings to save my life these days. I will not put them on. They itchy and they aggravating. Um, That's just what it is. But that don't mean that I don't wear long dresses and I don't know how to dress. I just don't like stockings. My girls don't wear stockings, but I don't really put them in stockings.
But I was
And
speaking
there's
to
really no need for them these days. But I mean, I feel like it's more than just the dress. Like
but
I
we're
want to
not
see. So when
talking
you say
about
mother,
dress.
so a part of the home, that so a part of making the home and taking care of the home, that there's not a time to nurture. Like, at one point I had 2 jobs. My kids didn't go unnurtured. I think you make the time for what you want to make the time for.
I'm
I
sorry, I
could be
cut
in
you
the
off.
house with my kids and be at work and still text, I love you, what you doing. That's all a part of nurturing. That's all a part. How was your day? Even though I'm at work, we're still having conversation. When you're not at work, you make your time. Like, and it's not always about taking them out and buying Jordans and spending money. My kids are very grateful for whatever they get, because it was time. I tell my kids the truth. I don't have no money for that. But I would make pallets and we would watch movies and play games and do different stuff. So it's about what you value to give your child that nurturing time. It's different. Like even when I was growing up, I wanted to sell Girl Scout cookies. I wanted to be the main one. I wanted to win the prize. I wanted to go around and sell my cookies and get my orders. You just wrote a check and bought the most boxes. Did I win? Yes, but I wanted to actually do it and earn it and be there and do stuff like that. When I was the queen, I wanted to actually go out, raise the money, get the people to give me the ads. You came in and say how much the most person gave. You wrote a check for more than them so I could be the queen. For me, it was about the activity. Like there would be something I can't go around and do it myself. That's something we can do it together. So, but that's not what happened. You just threw money at it to make it happen because I wanted it, but I also wanted the time, like to do it together. The money wasn't the thing. And you have a lot of parents who feel like because they throw money at it, that they're giving the child what they need, and that's not necessarily what they need. So for me, as a parent, I made sure, like, I'm at PTO meetings. I'm involved in going to things at the school. My kids will look up and see me at the school. Like, I'm there, I'm present, I'm giving you that. So I think it's about what you see and what's important, but you also have to talk to your kids. And I think a lot of parents in your generation, y'all didn't do that. Like, y'all loved us the way y'all wanted us to love us. Y'all wanted us to be the way y'all wanted to raise us to be, and didn't consider our personalities and didn't consider what we needed. So if you giving me love, but it's not in the form in which I needed, or you really giving it. If you're giving nurturing and it's not in the form of what that person needs, then it's not doing anything for that person. And I think that's the difference. We allow our kids to be more vocal and we take their feelings into consideration. Not that we listen to them all the time, but we take it into their consideration because they're a lot more fragile these days than we were. So they can't handle that toughness like we were given. They can't be latchkey. A lot of them can't be latchkey kids. And a lot of us didn't prepare our kids for latchkey kids to be latchkey kids because we knew how it felt, and it made us feel lonely coming home doing homework by yourself because mama at work. And all y'all say when we would try to say something about it or express our feelings about it, then we got, I'm working so you can have a better life, not understanding to an 8, 9, 10-year-old, we, for our life, we just want to go outside. Yes, you working to make a better life, but you're not fully explaining it and breaking it down where they can understand. And we like now we work and we understand, Lord, I'm tired. I don't feel like doing all of that. But at the time, what we took from it was loneliness. We were alone. It didn't matter how we felt. It didn't matter our feelings. It didn't matter. You a child. You don't have no feelings. You don't have no wants. But even though you a child, you still have wants. My want could be, I want you to work less and spend more time with me. My want could be, don't take this trip, take me on a trip. Like, we don't even have to go on a trip. Let's just do something. That could be my want. But as a kid, you were taught to suppress your wants and you suppress your needs because that doesn't matter. That's not a focal point. You a child. You just here to be seen. But what you have to say don't matter. And a lot of us took that and we said we didn't want our children to feel that way. We want to know that they're okay. We want to know that they're expressive. And that's why a lot of us, even though whether you want to say it's toxic, and some of it is toxic, some of it is, I'll be like, oh girl, that's out of line. But they allow their kids to express themselves to them, and the kids feel comfortable. And a lot of parents from your generation say, I never knew that. I never knew this. But the environment wasn't created for us to be able to share our feelings. And we took that and we have translated that to our kids. We want to know your feelings because we want to create the environment. If something is going on with you, talk to us. Now, some people need to get a handle on it because their kids go too far, but that's the extreme situation. You know what I'm saying? Some of it is extreme, not all of it is not. So I do think, yes, telling a child, whoa, you a child, this adult business definitely needs to stay in place, but it doesn't need to be one way or the other. There are certain things that I feel like if it's a lesson that we could have gotten, but because it was you a child, don't question me, don't ask nothing, don't do this, we didn't get the lesson. And now we over here fighting at the stumbling block and talking about life is lifing. And it ain't until you get past it that you realize this is the same stuff your mama was going through. But you didn't prepare us for the lesson because we wasn't able to ask questions. We wasn't able to say this don't make no sense. If we say that didn't make no sense, we were deemed disrespectful. But to us, it wasn't disrespect. It didn't make no sense. I don't understand why you have to work all of these hours and you don't have time to do this. But then when you get your free time and you want to let your head down, you could go on a vacation. You can go get your nails done. And I'm still by a babysitter. Not understanding that when you go to work, you tired, you got to deal with other people's attitudes. I still got to pay these bills. And by the time I get finished paying them, they running around, coming back and down again. And when I get some free time, no, I don't want to be bothered with no kids. I need some stress. I need some getaway. I need to feel human. I need to feel like I'm not taking care of nobody. We never got that from y'all. We never got that. So we didn't understand that. And then y'all mad at us. And then when we express it or we walking around with an attitude, we deemed as disrespectful. And then then guys turn around and kind of judge us in the way that we're parenting and saying, y'all let them kids do too much. Y'all let them talk too much. But then in the same token say, why you didn't talk to me like that when I was you didn't create that environment for me. It's a way to create the environment, have the conversation, and let your kids talk to you and express something because they may not get it. They don't understand it. They're not on the front line saying what you're seeing. It's a way to talk to them and let them express themselves without it being disrespectful and without it going on the spectrum of disrespectful. So I think the order needs to be kept, but allowing your children to express themselves and express what's going on with them not only creates an open floor in the household without tension, but it also allows when there's situations outside the household, they come talk to you and they can express themselves.
Well, I agree with um I agree with a whole lot of what you're saying. I do think that as mothers that that's way a whole lot of mouth, a whole lot of mouth. Let me first say that my grandkids, um, I don't remember them. They're just like you, not disrespectful. Just like when I'm on the phone with Chris, she'll say it's time to go. Oh, okay, mom. And the children calling me when she don't like what I'm saying. Okay, I have never and you've passed that on to your kids. I've never seen your kids be disrespectful. Sometimes I think that your kids are a lot close to you, and they don't share and they don't share you don't share them with anybody. Y'all have y'all closed world. Um, at my time, and I'll say it again, I don't, I'm not apologizing, because I gave you all I had, but it was all I had, and that's why, um, I think that my niece is such a wonderful mother because my sister could be a mother. I had no clue of motherhood. Um, and as far as you being a queen, girl, look, I think I made you queen more for me than you, okay? I wanted you to be that queen. I just wanted everything I missed in life. I wanted you to have it. I wanted you to be on the top of everything, and yep, I was gonna pay for it. I felt that way, and that's the way it is. That's the way it was. And I gotta say, I'm still that
You
same
still
way.
that way.
I'm still the same
You
way.
you still that way. But you have to take into account that what you may want for someone, for your child. Like when you have a child, you have all these dreams and hopes and aspirations of what you want them to be and how you want their life to go. But ultimately, their personality, things they go through, those are the things that make them, that will help them decide the path that they're gonna go on. And it's not that you did a bad job, and it's not that they're an imperfect child. If they don't take the path that you wanted them to take, they have to take the path that's gonna make them the most successful in life. And sometimes what we want for our kids is not what they want for themselves, nor would it be the best thing for them. Just because a doctor makes a good living doesn't mean that I should push my child to be a doctor, because they may grow up to be the best French fry maker and come up with their own restaurant from that. But that's what suits them.
Well, I don't believe I was pushy about whichever way you wanted to go. As a matter of fact, I didn't want you to be a nurse, but um, and tell me if I'm wrong. Not as far as your profession was concerned.
No, not as far as my profession. I was just throwing that out there as a tad bit, because I know some people who do that. I've graduated with people who don't talk to their parents to this day because they didn't go into the profession that their parents wanted them to go into. So it came to my mind. So I was just saying, no, you wasn't pushy about that. Like, not about my career. I wanted to be some wild things. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be some of everything. At one point, you even said I should be a comedian. I was like, is she calling me a clown or am I just funny? Um, I don't know. You wasn't picky about that, but you were definitely picky about the makeup thing. Like, wear makeup, get dressed up, like put on your lipstick. If you're eating, your lipstick come off. And I was like, if it come off, I don't care. Like, I'm not into makeup like that. Like that, you were more pushy about that kind of stuff than about what I wanted to be as far as
And
my
that's the
career.
greatest fight I
But
had with
makeup
my
and all that,
grandkids.
that's who you were. That wasn't who I was. I'm very
I
much
fight with my
comfortable
grandkids.
in jeans and a shirt, and but when I get dressed up, I'm gonna get dressed up. Um,
Right, and you have to know, and
but
that's culture.
it's just not.
And I
I mean,
believe I give
they know how to do it. I knew how to do it. It's just it wasn't makeup for my everyday life. I don't need that.
but I
I
gave you
don't need that.
culture.
Nothing's wrong with
You
my
had
skin. I'm beautiful.
I gave you culture, and that was very important to me. You were well rounded. You can go into any part of society and fit, and that was important, and that's very important in life. I can't if you genes can't go everywhere, and I needed to teach you as a mother, and yes, that was important to me. I needed to teach you as a mother to be able to fit in different areas of life, to be able to go anywhere and deal with those people. That's important. That's important no matter what your profession is.
Right. No, I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm just saying it wasn't needed for an everyday. Like every day, I'm not going somewhere. I have to meet up with somebody. Like if I have to go to handle business or I'm going to a certain event, then I know put on my makeup, get dressed. I know to look a certain way. But just in my everyday life in the summertime, I will wear a maxi dress and go with my face like this, put on some earrings, and still walk and speak and smile and feel just as beautiful standing next to a woman with a face full of makeup. I mean, if that's what she likes to do, that's fine, but that's
But
just not
but I don't wear makeup
me.
every day, everywhere. I do a
You
lot
don't wear
because
makeup
that.
to work. Yeah. You don't wear makeup to work. And I know why you don't wear makeup to work. But you definitely you're gonna wear your makeup on a regular day. You're gonna wear your lashes on a regular day. You be like, oh no, I gotta go get my lashes. I mean, that's you. That's your personality. That's who you are.
and
And I
and,
love
and,
that
pl-
about you,
and
but that's
please
just
let the
not
world
me.
know I did take you on vacations. I don't know if you meant that toward our life,
About
but I did take you on
vacations? No, we went on vacations. I
Okay.
didn't say we didn't go on vacations.
Oh, so you were just speaking in general when you
Yeah, we know we went on vacations. Was at the Bahamas. I was what, 8 years old? And we was dancing with our Shirley Temples, thought we had us a drink. But I mean, it was fun. I was 8 and we saw a cabaret. Like it was fun. I definitely experienced cultures and took trips. Like that's not the thing. I think that's an amazing thing to do. Everybody's not financially able to do that, but I think that's an amazing thing to do, to take your kids to see different places, different cultures, see how other people live, because everywhere is not the same as where you live. Even with us, as close as Baton Rouge is, it's different from New Orleans. So different culture, different environment. So yeah, you should definitely do that.
so we know that there is a difference in the way we parented. But I was different from other mothers in my because due to my life experience. My life experience is really and I'm not ashamed to tell the world I did not have a clue. All of my life, I've always taken care of things and taken care of people. I was that person. Um, and there's reasons for that. Well, it came up with the way I came up with my experience. Let's say my experience in life made me feel like I want to take care. I want everybody to have what they need. Without saying that right now, that was my experience. So I don't think you can judge my my experience and who I was and am as a mother to my generation, because most of the people from my generation did have mothers,
Well, no,
and
what I
it
was saying
may.
about your generation was things I've seen from different people in it wasn't specifically just you. When I said generations, your generation, is because it's different people with different experiences outside of yours that did the same things. It wasn't just you, like for whatever reason, different reasons, whether it was things that was passed down to y'all or not, or or just their life experiences. It ended up being the same thing. Just like in my generation, everybody is not going through the same thing, but we all tend to parent a little less harsher because we felt like our parenthood was harsh. But if you talk to me, you might say, girl, that wasn't harsh in comparison to your mom. I'm just saying it's a generational response. Each
Mhm.
generation do something
But
different because from parenting.
but even when you were coming up, but my experience with you was different from my experience with other children. But they always thought that you thought I was very hard, but they loved being there, and they loved being with us. Um, so I'm saying that to say, okay, I'm moving the conversation forward. So with that being said, with our way of parenting versus your way of parenting, um, what were the pros to our way of parenting, and what were the pros to your way of parenting? I'll say when we finished high school, when I finished high school, it was different from when you finished high school. But when you finished high school, I believe that I had trained you to be independent, that you were able to, out of high school, uh, go on in life and take care of yourself. And so tell me, what are the pros and cons of
So I
parenting
think
without strengths?
I think from your generation, I think it definitely was a pro to teach us how to take care of ourselves. So a lot of young people don't know how to take care of themselves. I think that was definitely a pro, how to be self-sufficient, how to not depend on nobody else. Like that's one thing I can say. With your fear of leaving me, like I learned to cook early, I learned to wash early, I learned how to take care of myself. So if something happened to you, I would be able to do that. I would be sufficient in doing that. So I think that was very great. I think teaching order, teaching manners, because a lot of kids don't have manners. They don't say thank you, you welcome, God bless you. I think those are all things that should have been kept. I think those are all things that should have been kept. I think there needs to be um, a modified version of not sharing with your kids from your generation. I still think you should share on some level so they can have an understanding, but I do think we overshare, which causes our kids to have a lot of worries and stress that they should not have because they shouldn't even know that that's going on. They're kids. Um, so I think those are things that definitely should be kept. I think the family structure, like how it's family, and I can't speak for everybody else. Um, but in New Orleans, there's a family structure. Like you go by your aunts, yeah, y'all have Sunday dinner, you watch football, you have parties. Um, I think that family togetherness definitely should be kept. From my generation, I think the openness, the being willing to communicate in here, um, your children. I think that should be kept. I think understanding their feelings, allowing them to communicate with you, not in a disrespectful manner, but to express if they don't like something, if they don't want to do something. I could be trying to make you do basketball and you want to do football. I wanted my son to play football. I wanted a son. I had done already picked out. I was gonna have his number in the beast on his shirt when he played football because I love football. I watch sports, period. My son came out here wanting to play basketball. He don't give a damn about football. He'll watch it. He's getting more into it now, but basketball is his thing. So, I can't make you be who I want you to be. You have to be who you are. And I think support. And I think our generation, my generation, parents used to show up when I was in school, when you had plays, when there were meetings. And I go to meetings these days and it's about 5 or 6 parents, and then they get emails from the school and don't know what's going on. You're not participating. So I think we need to get back to participating, being involved in our school way, walking the hallways, going volunteer. Even if you're not working in your child's class, you're still benefiting in helping another child. And I think that makes a difference for a lot of the kids who don't get love, a lot of the kids who don't get something else. Yeah, you somebody else's mama, but that little bit. I still have students that call me and talk to me. They tell my children happy birthday. And it's just because somebody else showed them love and care about them. And there's not a lot of people in my generation that do it. I see a lot of grandparents more than I see parents. And it's not that the kids don't live with their parents, it's their parents aren't making the time. That little bit of time of muffins with mom matters. And there's no participation from my generation. I understand there's work. And some parents they working all day. They working all day. But if you can send a text message, you can send a message to a teacher. They have all kind of apps. Even if you can't be at the meeting, still be involved and know what's going on. Like I said, at one point I had 2 jobs. I wasn't able to be at everything, but I could still, when I got on a break, send a message on Remind. It might have been once a month, twice a month, but the teachers knew who I was, know who I am. A lot of teachers don't know who these kids' parents are. So I think that's something we should definitely get back to. Oh, I know you're teaching.
Do we have any comments
Sorry.
that we want to read, Nola?
Yes, Henrietta Sandy said 2 different generations. It's certainly not the same. Our mother parents us and they were cared for, but time has changed. You can only give what you have. Exactly. And Samaya says, I hope I said your name right. Lack of participation is due to parents working OT trying to pay bills. I definitely agree the involvement is lacking. And I understand it. Like if you have to work, you have to work, especially if you're the only one providing in the house. If you have to work, you have to work. That's not going to change that. But you can still send a message. You can still send a text that say, how's your day going? How did your day go? Ask questions. Even if it's just in passing, getting ready for work, getting ready for school. How was school yesterday? Good morning, wake up. How was your day yesterday? All right, let's, what the grades looking like.
Okay.
So I think that needs to be.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to your childhood too. You're right. I worked a lot, but also, your dad and I, we were, and I'm not explaining anything to the world, but I want to be open to you and the world, because if we can build on even the past, we can make it better for the future, and that's what we're trying to do. Your dad and I were divorced, and your grandma and your dad insisted that they have a lot of time with you. Your grandmother still tells me to this day, and you're grown with kids, that I know I was unfair to her with the amount of time that I gave you, and that I gave her with you. So I still had to share you with her. That was a big part of the time. And even though y'all rent appears to be more, but the percentage of our salaries was the same that had to go for for bills and to take care of you. So it was you were gonna have a place to stay. We was gonna stay home when you wanted us to stay home. I shared all that I had, and all that I knew to give, because you were then, from the moment you were born until now, the biggest part of my life. And I make no apologies. I look at the fine woman that you are, and I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of that. And I know that sometimes I was very hard. Um, and you mentioned the other day in conversation about how it was easy on a person that was going through troubles, but that person was God had instructed me at a time to help that person. You weren't that weak. You still a very strong woman. And no two people are the same. No, she wasn't my child, but you were strength, and I was protecting you from the very situation her life could come in, because we could judge her life. And I'm not saying you judge her life, but we could judge somebody's life that's in a bad place. But um, we never had to be there, praise God. And I think that um, that's the biggest lesson in that situation. You handle each situation accordingly. But it was very important to me to give you a good life, to give you a strong life, to give you a balanced life, and that you always had everything you needed. So I want to say, I don't know what time it is, but it feels like we're approaching our time, are we?
We are.
I want to say that there was no better experience I had in life than being your mother. It taught me a lot about being a woman. It brought a whole lot of femininity to my masculine life. I had my dad. I hung out with my dad. I knew what my dad do. I'm still flirty, just like my dad, because that was my dad. But having you have been more than a blessing. It grew me, and I raised a beautiful, fine woman. And I don't think there's any accomplishment in life that I'm more proud of than that. So before we get your closing statement, Nola, do we have any comments we want to read?
Barb, you know Barb, my
Yes.
baby. Hey, girl. She said this was an excellent conversation, ladies. That was the last comment after the other two that I read.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Henrietta and Barb and Barbara. And
Grantine and Yvette and Samaya.
all right. All right. So we're closing Nola. Nola, they call her Nola Reads because she just read everybody all day long on that channel. But anyway, Nola, close us
It's
out. Give
very
us
different.
mama something to go home with.
I would say always just 100% be your authentic self. When you're being a mother and showing up for your kids, it's okay to not let them see you be perfect. If you present to them that the world is perfect, you letting them down for the future. It's okay for them to see some of the struggles. You know, some of the stuff, yeah, you keep on lock. Especially if you're really, really close with your kids, because they will internalize that. But always be your authentic self. If you're not feeling it today, say you're not feeling it today. If you need a moment and you need space, say you need a moment and you need space. It may sound harsh, but it's the truth of the matter. And guess what? That teaches them when they're feeling some type of way to verbalize it, and say, I need space. Because when they get older and they become mothers, they're going to need space. They're going to want space. They're going to want
They
time.
won't want when
Because
they get
these
older
kids
and they
don't
be
want
mothers.
space and they're going to want time. You're gonna want some time away from your kid. You're gonna need it. And it's okay to say that. Like, and I had to learn that as a mother. I had to learn I am not less than a mother. And I think a lot of mamas need to hear that. You are not less than a mother for saying you need time. I need adult conversation. I need adult stimulation. I need to be around adults. I need to do something else besides be a mother, because when you're a mother, you are never off, especially if you are a working mother. I'm literally up in the mornings, I'm bringing to school, but when I get to school, after school is over, I'm not able to be Kristen and just relax. Like on off days, sometime, you know what I'm saying? But you go from that to being at work. And then when you get off of work, you got to get your kids and then you're back to being a mother. And there's not a lot of time for you, and it's okay to take that time for you. And as my kids are getting older and they getting ready to leave, like, I mean, 7 more years I'll be an empty nester, my son will be going to college. If I just make them my whole life, I'm gonna be lost. Where they going? What I'm gonna do? You know, you
Amen.
have to still keep up your
That's what
interests.
happened to
You have to
me.
still keep up. You have to still keep up your interests. You have to still keep up and maintain a life for yourself with friends. Um, and that's for your mental health too, and because it makes you happy. And when you are happy and in a good place and in a good space, that's even more of a better mother. Then you will be. Keep lines of communication with your children open. Let your children be able to communicate with you and create that space that if something's going on, they can come and talk to you. A lot of our kids are going through depression, and a lot of them don't have that space to open up and talk and feel comfortable. And I think that's definitely something that you need to do. Create that space where your kids can come talk to you. You can know what's going on with them. Be active in their lives. Know who their friends are. That's another thing y'all need to start doing, like y'all mom and them used to do. I need to talk to a parent before you go over there. That needs to come back. Talk to a parent. Know that environment before you just start letting your kids go over there. I hang out with my kids' friend mama. So when they go to the house, I'm coming to the house too. We all over here. We all friends. Hey girl, how you doing? And that's just my opinion. But I think most importantly, be aware that even when you're telling your children nothing is wrong, they feel something is wrong. And what we don't want to teach them to do is hide their feelings and hide their emotions and internalize it. Because when they become adult and life really start hitting them, they still gonna start be holding inside, and it's gonna come to a point one day where they no longer gonna be able to hold it. And now is the time to teach them how to start handling and dealing with life challenges. So remember, you are your child's first key to the world. Both parents are. With this conversation is centered around mothers. I can't talk about being a daddy because I'm not one. Um, but no, you are your child's first navigation to seeing how to handle problems, how to express themselves, um, and just how to just overall have values, morals, and move through life, seeing snakes for what they are, seeing weird people for who they are, and recognizing the genuine people for who they are.
I want to add. I'm glad that you brought up being friends with knowing your children's friends, and that's why a lot of times I participated in school. If it was game day or wherever they needed a mom to chaperone, I'm sitting there thinking about the day I didn't know the little girl didn't close the door and the woman's child almost fell out my car. But to show up at their school, that way you get to know the teacher and you get to know the child and and the children that your children are around. You see your child in their environment. If they want to be a tumbler, if they want to be a cheerleader, be the cheerleader mom, be the band mom, be the sports mom. But you get to see your child in their world. And we did that. And I know a lot of young moms that do that too. I showed up at the parties, even if it was for a little while, because I didn't stay long because I wanted her to be able to be herself. But I was very involved in her world. I made her world my world. And just like she said, when it was time for her to leave, it messed me around. I was really messed up. I went through some really big changes because I didn't know. It may not have come across like that tonight, but we were trying to make a whole different point. Um, I made Nola my world. Nola Reeds was my world. And When she wanted to leave, and she did leave and had her own world, it was mentally, it messed me up. I had no clue on what to do with my life. And I kept a life. Good thing I had friends, and I traveled, and I taught her to travel too, because I made it a point that she got to Disney World and Disneyland. I don't know why, but that was important to me. But
several times over.
um, but make it a point to create memories. I always wanted to create memories, even with my grandkids, in the event that I was to pass, they can remember me. That they would have memories to grow on. And I talk to them so that they can have wisdom to grow on. Because we let them say everything, but sometimes they need to be quiet and listen, and this is my opinion, and listen, because where they're going to get the wisdom to speak from. You have to give your children wisdom to speak from, in those conversations, in those directions, in those yeses, and those no's, and you're not going to do that. And right now, I need you to be quiet. There comes a time in life, no matter what you think or how you feel, you need to be quiet. But if you never learned to be quiet, listen and obey immediately. Especially in these days, immediate obedience can save your life. But if you never have to stop and be obedient, then it could cost you your life. So, some of those things, don't throw the baby out with the water. Don't throw the baby out with the water. Remember some of those things that we taught you, because it's valuable. It's going to give you wisdom. You don't only have to be smart, you have to be wise. And that's my advice to you from the older generation, a mother. I probably learned how to be a mother after my baby was grown, but look at it now, I didn't do too bad. So, Nola, close us out.
All right, y'all. With that being said, there will be another show next week from Moments with Vivacious. Also, in closing this out, one last thing I want to say, and then we're gonna let y'all go. Um, don't hide reality from your kids. Don't have them live in a fantasy world, because when they get out here, it is not a fantasy. And with that being said, y'all have a good one.
See you next week with Lady M.